Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Georgia, I hope you're well. Today I actually want to go through my best books of 2024. I know we're already way past January, but I really want to have this video on my channel more just to look back on for my own memories than anything else. Just so I can see sort of like what my favourite books were, what I was reading and enjoyed in 2024. So I read 48 books in 2024, which is loads more than I expected. 2024 was the first year I kind of took reading slightly more seriously and like obviously started my channel up again on more of like a reading basis and things like that. So 2024 was the first year that I actually sat and read properly. So my goal was 24 books and I read 48, so I did double my reading goal for last year, which I am very, very proud of. I'm just going to go through my top 10 of last year. I'm going to pick one from a series, especially if it was an all 5-star series. I'm also going to go through them in sort of like the order that I read them rather than top to bottom, because a lot of these I just can't put top to bottom. There's a few that I can probably rate like lower or higher on my list, but to put them actually 1 to 10 was just impossible. So I'm going to go through them in the order that I read them. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And as always, my social medias and Amazon, Goodreads, everything like that will be in the description box below. And let's get straight into my favourites of 2024. The first series I'm going to talk about is the Chestnut Spring series by Elsie Silver. So my favourite from the series was Heartless. So this book is about Cade and Willa. So Cade is the oldest brother in the Eaton family and Willa is the girl from the first book's best friend. So this is the second book in the Chestnut Spring series. It's sort of like all an interconnected standalone. I'm sure you've heard about it. It was all the rage last year. This is what got me into cowboy smut. And I absolutely love it. So this is a sort of like grumpy sunshine, single dad sort of situation. But I really like those sort of like tropes in a book. I love the single dad one, or even single mom. Like I love the single parent trope. And Grumpy Sunshine always really makes me giggle because I just love the contrast in the characters. But this is definitely my favourite. The spicy scenes in this were incredible. The little kid in this is so cute. I want to call him Luke. Yeah, I really enjoyed this one. I loved the entire series, but like I say, if I had to pick one, it would probably be this one. I enjoyed it so much. I do think all of them were at least like 4.5 or 5-star reads for me. But this one is definitely up there as my favourite in the Elsie Spring series. The next book that I want to talk about as my favourites for 2024 is Scarlet by Kaylee Hilton. So this is Kaylee's debut novel and honestly I enjoyed it so much. So it's like found family. It is a romance, but it's about a group of assassins that are on the run. Now this book, when I say it had me gripped from page 1, I literally mean it had me gripped from page 1. Like the starting of this book is just incredible. Mine is a signed copy, not to toot my own horn, but there you go. So honestly this just had me hooked. I just had to know sort of like what was going on from there. So like I said, family, there are some really amazing couples in this book and this is going to be part of a 4-book series I believe. So Something Blue is hopefully coming out towards the end of this year, which is book 2 in this series, and honestly I am beyond excited. I enjoyed this book so much. But yeah, so it's assassins, there's lots of fight scenes, lots of darkness, lots of like trauma, things like that, but there's also this really nice underlying romance and it's just so nice. There is some spice in this book. I did read this all the way back in March last year. I don't think there's loads, but there's like a nice amount of spice in there, but it doesn't just completely take over the story. But honestly, I love this book so much. If you can get your hands on it, I definitely would. I highly recommend getting your hands on this one. It is such a good story. Kaylee also has another book out now called Ghost of You, and I read that at the very end of last year, which I did also love. The next book that I'm going to talk about is Powerless by Lauren Roberts. I read this in March of last year, and honestly, I love this book. Again, you've probably heard a lot about it. It was very hyped in 2024. As you can tell, I really like this series. I've got the normal versions and the sprayed ed versions of Powerless, Powerful and Reckless. I've also got the hardbacks down here as well. I've not got Powerful yet, so I've not quite completed my set, but I'm getting there. So this is book 1 in the Powerless trilogy. This follows Kai and Caden. Jesus. Kai and Payden. So you've got the elites that all have different powers, and then you've got the ordinaries, which are people with no powers. Ordinaries are banned from the kingdom and shunned from society, so like the elites are sort of top dogs if you like. So our main character Payden is actually an ordinary hiding in a world full of elites basically, and they have sort of like a Hunger Games type trial, is the easiest way to explain it. So like a few elites get chucked into sort of like this game if you like, but obviously Payden doesn't have any powers, she's an ordinary, so it's how she sort of navigates through that. There is a really nice romance through these books. There's no spice, but there is a lot of tension in this one. So yeah, I really love this one. I do also really love Reckless and read that last year, but this one does just take it for me. So this is the first book in the series, and like I say, it's sort of like a high stakes trial fantasy romance type. Absolutely love this book. This is definitely top 3 from last year. I adored this book so much. It was so good. A lot of people either really like Powerless and not a massive fan of Reckless, or not a massive fan of Powerless but really love Reckless. I really love them all. I do think they're quite different. Like I said, this one's sort of like the trials, whereas Reckless is very much a game of like cat and mouse and stuff. So I really like it. The ending of Reckless had me mind blown. I can't wait for Fearless to come out later on this year. It's honestly one of my top anticipated reads for 2025. I am beyond excited. So of course the ACOTAR series were going to come up at some point in this video. So if I had to pick a favourite from the ACOTAR series, it was an entirely 5-star read series for me. But if I had to pick one, it would be Akamath. So this is book 2 in the series, and honestly I can't tell you much about this one without ruining the first one. I'm sure 90% of readers have read it, but it's such a good series. So it's a fantasy romance about like a fae realm. There's basically all these different courts, and all the different courts have different sort of like abilities and things. To give you sort of like a baseline for the start of ACOTAR, our main character Feyre is a human who basically gets kidnapped and taken to a fae realm, and it's sort of the progression from there. I can't tell you much more without ruining the stories, but this one, like I said, is the second one. So this is sort of like where, to me, a lot of the story is sort of set. So like the first book is sort of about Feyre adjusting to the fae realm, whereas this is her actually like living there and things, and that really, I do feel like there's a massive change in this book, but obviously there's also a massive change of characters. Like I said, a lot of people have probably read it, but I don't want to spoil it for those that haven't. Just know you need to read ACOTAR. I know it's been so hyped up, but the hype is real again. Like, it deserves the hype that it's getting. It's incredible. Book 2 is definitely my favourite. We meet a lot of new characters in this one, and the family is just incredible. Chapter 55, for those of you who know. Yes, incredible book. Read it. The next book is actually an arc that I read in 2024. I did do quite a lot of arc reading in 2024, to be fair, and really enjoyed finding a lot of new sort of like indie authors. So this book is When Lies Unfold by R.C. Bolt. So this book follows sort of our main character, I want to call her Madison, and the leader of the cartel, Santiago. Now this book is basically about Madison, who's sort of like, she's got her own secrets, she's trying to lay low, she's a cleaner, and she basically ends up accidentally witnessing a murder by the cartel. Now the leader of the cartel finds her in the house and basically can't bring herself to kill her because obviously she's seen their faces, she knows what happened, so he just takes her instead. It's sort of like how it progresses from there. So he is obviously the big bag leader of the cartel, but he has like a different side that she sees. He's also got a daughter, or an adopted daughter, who really takes a liking to Madison and things, so he definitely can't bring himself to kill her at that point. But this is just honestly such a nice story. There's so much drama and so many big twists and turns within this book, but equally, again, there's that really nice romance. That seems to be my vibe. I just like it when it's just like, it absolutely shouldn't be happening. It's all so dark and dingy and horrible and scary, but then there's just this really nice romance throughout the story. That just seems to be what draws me into a book, honestly. I adored this book. I absolutely loved it. I just thought it was incredible. I now love a cartel mafia type romance, and this is definitely the best one I've read so far. Moving on to another arc that I read last year. This is Rush of Ravens by Abigail Breyer. Now this again was incredible. It's sort of like a high stakes epic fantasy. There is like a very small amount of romance that kind of goes through this series. This is one of what's going to be an 8-book series now. She's got it all planned out already. It sounds incredible. But this one is book 1. So this follows our main character, Ravenna. So her mum is the shield maiden of their sort of, I'm going to call it clan, just because I can't think of what the actual word is. But yeah, there's a really interesting sort of like magic system within these books. It's a very big focus on like the dark versus the light. The king in this book is an ass. There's a lot of really amazing characters in this book. There's a really interesting magic system, and it's honestly just such an interesting read. I don't want to tell you too much about it. If you go onto her Instagram, she's got a lot of like vibe videos, so like it just gives you loads of teeny little like snippets of photos and videos and stuff that give you a really good idea of the vibe of this book. I will link all the indie authors and things like that's Instagram and things in the description below anyway, but this book was honestly just so good. I enjoyed it so much. I got completely lost in it. It's multiple POV, which I don't usually like. For me, I'm a dual POV kind of gal. This one wasn't actually bad, and there is a lot of like points of view in this one. It's not too difficult to sort of keep on top of. Now, I think in 2025 we're going to be seeing the novella after this one and also book 2. I might be wrong, but I really hope I'm not, because I need to get back in this universe. I loved it so much. So I think the novella is Sea of Sorrows, which is going to be following Cove, who we meet in this book, and then the second book is also going to be coming out this year, and that's Dawn of Doves. And again, I am so excited. I think they're coming out this year. I might be wrong. If I am wrong, I'll let you know, but I'm pretty sure that's right. I'm pretty sure we're getting both this year. So this is book 1 of, like I said, what's going to be an 8-book series, and that's not including the novellas. That's just the actual books. So it is going to be big, but I do think it's going to be so worth it. Like, I really, really enjoyed this one, and I have really high hopes for the next ones as well. Do you know when you've just got so many books that, like, you have to literally force them back onto the shelves? That's the state that I'm in right now. If you've seen my January wrap-up, then you'll have heard me talk about these books already. But I'm next going to talk about the Ripper's MC series by Emily Catlow. I am honestly obsessed with this series. It's a trilogy. Again, perfect amount of books for me. And this is book 1 in the series, so this is straight to me. Now, this follows our main characters Madison and Dean. So Dean is the vice president of the Ripper's MC, and Madison's just like your day-to-day gal, just going about life. And they bump into each other on a night out, and it's sort of how they navigate that relationship. So obviously Madison knows nothing of bike gangs, doesn't really get what's going on, whereas Dean's the vice president, so obviously he has a lot of responsibility in the club and things. And honestly, I just love an MC romance. I absolutely love it, and this did not disappoint. This is Emily Catlow's first book, and honestly it's incredible. I've read 4 of hers now. I read All I Ever Wanted in January, which is why you'll have heard me speak about these if you've seen my last video, and they just don't disappoint. It is a 5-star series for me, but this one does take top place. It's incredible. They're spicy, they're high stakes, they're everything. They're absolutely everything. I highly, highly, highly recommend these books. They are incredible. Read them. 5-star reads. They are on Amazon. I again believe they're on Kindle Unlimited. I'm not entirely sure, but this book was honestly incredible. I enjoyed it so, so much. I mean, is it even a wrap up without talking about Fourth Wing at some point? I am holding the paperback because I can't be bothered to fight with my dragon over the hardback, so you can keep that. Fourth Wing, I'm sure you've heard so much about it. I've reread this again already this year. Obviously Onyx Storm's come out now, so it's just been all the hype, so I'll keep this one short and sweet. But I loved this book. I read this in June of last year, and I've read it again already in 2025. This book is incredible. There's not really much else to say about it. It's a 6-star if I could give it. I am honestly obsessed with this world. I am currently reading Iron Flame in preparation of getting around to reading Onyx Storm in the next few weeks, hopefully. I buddy read this with my partner last month, and even he is now obsessed with this world. This is Dragon Riders, fantasy romance. It's quite smutty. There's just so much going on, and I just absolutely love it. I love it so much. It's one POV, so it's just from Violet's point of view, which, like I said before, I'm a dual POV kind of girl. I love a dual POV, but we wouldn't be like uncovering the secrets at the same time as Violet if it was in any other format. So I will allow the one POV for this one. It does make sense, but this is just incredible. If you've not read it yet, please do. It is worth the read. If you don't love it, you're wrong, but it is so good. Just try it. Just give it a go. Give it a go for me. It's so, so, so good. The next book I'm going to talk about is some more cowboy smut for you. So this is Done and Dusted by Lila Sage. Now, this is book 1 in the Rebel Blue Ranch series. There's going to be 4. I've only read 2. I have got 3. 4 comes out this year. But yeah, this one follows Luke and Emmy. It's sort of like brother's best friend. Lila Sage does also talk through some sort of like topics. So I think this one kind of talks a lot about anxiety and things like that. The second one I do think touches on, if I remember correctly, like ADHD and things like that. So again, it does cover some like sensitive and heavy topics, but in a very, very nice and light-hearted way. I just love this one. It's really spicy. It's a very, very similar vibe to the Elsie Silver ones, but they're short and sweet, dual POV, spicy romances. I absolutely love this one. I read this in about 3.5, 4 hours. I smashed through this in a 24-hour reading challenge. I just adore this story so much. And I love these characters and I love this world, but so far this one is probably my favourite. Like I said, book 2 and 3 are out already. Book 4 comes out later on this year, but I love these characters so much and I can't wait to get back into the series. Book 3 is definitely on my soon to be read pile at the minute. Done and Dusted. Such an incredible story. Lovely, lovely cowboy smut. Brilliant spice. Just a really great book. Please read it. And then the last book in my top 10 of 2024 is Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. Now, this book I read in, I think it was June time last year. I also read this in the same 24-hour reading challenge as Done and Dusted. So this is the first book I've ever read by this author. I have since read Just for the Summer as well. This one is probably my favourite of the two. And I recently found out that there's also book 1. This is book 2, just for the summer's book 3. I've not read book 1, which is very annoying. I'll definitely get around to that soon. But this one follows 2 doctors, so it's Brianna and Jacob. Yeah, so they're both doctors working at the same hospital, and in this book there's like love letters and notes, and honestly I love it so much. I do this every time I talk about this book, but you just need to see it. I love, love, love a book with like letters and stuff, so you can see there that like the writing font changes when they're writing to each other, and it's one of my favourite tropes in books. I just love the notes and the letters and things. Abby Jimenez again is another author that includes like some of the heavier mental health sort of related topics. So in this book our main character Jacob is the really anxious one, which I wouldn't want to say I like, but it's an interesting concept to read from sort of like the guy being the anxious one. It always seems to be the girl that's really anxious and the guy that's really outgoing, whereas in this one it's the other way around. So Jacob's a really anxious person, whereas Brianna's more outgoing and things, and I think it's so interesting to read it that way around. It is dual POV, so we get Jacob's perspective during his anxious stages and things like that as well, which again I like. So dual POV, there's a little bit of spice. Most of it is closed door if I remember correctly, but there are some spicy scenes in this. So Brianna's recently divorced, her brother needs a kidney transplant. It's a bit of like a fake dating situation. It is a little bit, very loosely I would say, enemies to lovers, but it's more just like dislike to lovers, fake dating situation, and yeah, it's just incredible. I enjoyed this book so much, and I definitely now want to go back and read all of Abby Jimenez's backlog because I just love her writing. I definitely need to read book 1 in this series because I just completely skipped past that one apparently. But I would like to read a lot of her other stuff, and I do think she's got a couple more coming out this year that I'm really excited for. But this is definitely in my top 10 of last year. So that's my top 10 of 2024. I think overall I did have a really good reading year. Like I said, I read double my goal, which I'm massively proud of. Like I never thought I'd read nearly 50 books in a year, and it's definitely given me sort of like some motivation for this year to try and do a little bit better. But overall, I'm really happy with the books I read last year. I do think I read mostly really good books. I don't think I rated many under 3. I'm hoping for another great reading year. I have a lot to get through. The last count I did, I've got like 270 something books. So I need to get on it with reading this year. I definitely want to smash through some of my physical TBR. If there's any books that you guys recommend for me, definitely make sure to leave them in the comments below. I always love looking at everybody's recommendations for the year. That's everything for today's video. If you liked it, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And as always, my Amazon, Goodreads and socials and everything will be in the description box below. Be sure to go check them out. I really hope you're doing well, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Take care.